Hello. I'm gonna turn off my sound for a little while.
Hi, Ellen. Hi, Rick.
Hello. Desperately scraping around for getting some food together so I don't die. So
Oh, no, no, absolutely. Do what needs must for your health and well-being. I was going to keep my camera off because I was actually in my pajamas until a while ago.
are you just lounging or are you not feeling well?
No, I was lounging.
Oh, good.
I
Okay.
confess. I have at least one of those. It would be lovely to have two a week, but I have at least one a week. Well, as you get older, it takes that much more energy to like even live.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a tiny bathroom downstairs. Sometimes it takes me 2 days to clean it. Hey, Rick, can you hear me?
Can I hear you?
Yeah. I just
Yes.
want to see if you got the email I sent you with the piece that we're going to put up tonight to look at. That's the
Did you send it today?
yeah, the committee annual report. That's what it's titled, I think. Oh, it's titled BCJEDI. No, I don't remember, but it's letters and
All
then
right.
committee annual report.
I did not get it because I have spent a total of 15 minutes on my computer today out of the entire
Okay.
day.
Want me to resend? It'll
No,
probably
I'm just going to get out for a second here and I'll get my email
okie
opened
dokie.
up.
Hi, William.
Greg is waiting to
Hi,
get loaded.
Joellen.
Hello there.
Hang on. I'm going to let Greg in and then I'm going to, I think I can make,
It's not right off anyway, so don't worry about it, but it's there somewhere in your email. Good evening, Greg. Hi, Sonia.
Hi.
So it is 6:30 and we have a quorum. Yahoo! Okay, everyone. I am calling this meeting of the Barre City Justice, Equity, Diversity, Inclusion, and Belonging Committee together at 6:30. Welcome, everyone. Hey, Ellen, in view. So are there any adjustments to the agenda? Anything wanted to be added? No?
I'm gonna put it into the chats for
Okay,
reference.
good idea. Thank you.
I didn't see any minutes, so I think we can table the March minutes for
Yeah,
today.
Emily's son is in the hospital, and so I haven't emailed her. I think she sent them to me, but I couldn't find them. So, Rick, if she sent them to you too, send them back to me, please.
I
She's
will look.
okay. But this is for the future. We don't have to do it tonight. Um, yeah, so we can move on from that. All right, are we ready? Old business. Let's talk. Okay, well, let me tell you, folks, this has been really difficult to schedule. The municipal workers do not want to come to a Saturday. I don't blame them. And community people don't want to do a Monday night. especially if they're working. So we have all municipal workers signed up for Mondays in May. I'm trying to get the folks that signed up for Saturdays to see if they could switch to the Monday evening, but really we only have, I think we have 6 or 7 people. You know, I don't really care at this point. I think we should run with whoever we have. We had a small number the first time and it wasn't bad. It just could be more effective if there were more people involved. Not all of you have signed up either. I'm not sure. I mean, I didn't get responses to asking for direction in terms of when to hold it. So I just went ahead and scheduled the May Monday evenings because we had at least 6 folks signed up for that. So if one of you can attend, it would be Monday evenings from 4 to 6. Rick, I don't know yet from you what location, but I'm sure we can get the, I think anyway, we could get the, what do you call that space? Up at the BOR, Alumni Hall. I'm assuming we could get a space there for it.
All right, I'm gonna pause this for a bit, buddy. Okay.
Hi there, welcome to the meeting.
Who is that?
Hello.
Leon Leary, I don't know who that is, but welcome. So, yeah, so those of you who have not signed up right now, and who I know, Chris hasn't gone through it. Greg, I know you contacted me, so we'll see if we can fit a time. I believe you told me it was Saturdays were better for you. Is that true? Yeah, yeah. Your microphone's off. Sorry.
Yeah.
But I could
Yeah.
see in your head, yes. That's what you were
Yes, I said Saturdays, but since that's not happening, I can do it some other time.
Would Monday evenings work for you? All the Mondays in
I
May?
think so. I think I can do it Monday evening. Monday
Great.
evening.
Check it out. But here's my next thought, and see how you feel about this. So I'm thinking I'm just going to focus now on trying to populate the Monday evening ones since they have the majority of the folks. So I'm going to, dig around and see if I can find some more folks for that. And then I'll work on a Saturday schedule probably in June for folks because, I mean, we need to do 3 of them, and June is the end of our grant. I'm sure I could ask for another extension, but I don't really want to do that. I just like to get this whole series, completed. And remember that one of the reasons that I want the committee to participate is that I would really like us to take over facilitation of this kind of thing for the future, so we don't have to pay for facilitator, and so that we can kind of expand the effect. And include common folk as well as leadership. Any ideas or questions about this or comments?
I was going to say I've been trying to figure out my work schedule and so forth, and I could do the next 2 Saturdays if that was happening, but if it's not, then 4 Mondays in a row I have commitments generally for one of those Mondays. So Saturdays, yeah.
So
So
know that I'm going to work after this. It was really hard for me to work 2 schedules at the same time. Probably because of my my mental state. Who knows? Anyway, so yeah, all right. So I'm going to put it out to everyone what the next schedule is for May, and we'll talk about this some more when we get to it on the agenda. But I also thought about putting up a sign-up sheet during the tabling at the Central Vermont Summit, Economic Summit. I thought maybe, well, we'll talk about that later. All right. Moving on to new business. Rick, have you gotten the annual report so we can put that up and talk about it?
I have.
Great, thank you. Mind you, this annual report is for publication, obviously not in print, but online, in our online annual report for the city. Okay. So it's definitely, I hope it's a different tone than the one I wrote, the one we wrote for and sent to the council. It was meant to be. So please, let's read for tone as well as content, okay? Barre City Justice, Equity, Diversity, Inclusion, and Belonging Committee Annual Report. One of the committee's emerging concerns is the relationships that need to be forged within the committee itself, between the committee and the city council, and between the committee and the community. There has been a recognition and growing concern about the need for civil discourse, the underpinning of participatory democracy. People will hesitate to become civically engaged, to speak up in public, and to volunteer when they witness incivility among leadership.
I'm in a meeting right now.
Accepting and normalizing such behavior encourages others to do the same. Public meetings had devolved into shouting matches, hostile exchanges, bullying, and name-calling, and private smear campaigns organized against public officials. The decision was made by the committee to focus on community education, creating the possibility for positive, productive relationships to begin between and among elected officials and residents. Equity education and practice is the key to this endeavor. The city received a grant from the Vermont Community Fund, sponsored by the Vermont League of Cities and Towns, to promote civil discourse. The curriculum for Let's Talk About Justice, Equity, Diversity, Inclusion, and Belonging was designed by Christy Clemens, Title IX Director at Dartmouth College, as a series of prompts and questions in a casual setting with the leadership of the city. Participants include municipal managers, elected officials, and community volunteers for the first year of the program. The professional facilitator will train local volunteers to manage the program in the future in order to make the workshops available to a wider public. You can scroll, Rick. Then I put, which I hope we're all familiar with, the curriculum. But leave it here because we have a guest, I think, still. Mr. Leary, the person Leary is still here. So why don't you leave that up so that person can read it at least? I'm not going to go through the whole thing. Okay. Okay, continue down to civil discourse. Civil discourse. The City Council voted to participate and was accepted as a cohort in the Vermont League of Cities and Towns Welcoming and Engaging Communities program. The 3 representatives to the cohort have identified civil discourse as one of the problems to examine during the process. As part of the VCF grant, the Council approved funds for a professional mediator to work with the Council and the committee on interpersonal communication and improving civility. The decision to engage in mediation is still pending due to a lack of interest by the council. Well, that might be a little pointed. Maybe I should change that one. But anyway, it happens to be the truth. The decision to engage in mediation is still pending due to a lack of interest by the council to engage in mediation. Maybe just end at still pending period. What do you guys think? Yeah.
I think that you could say it a different way, that that they haven't reached agreement,
Okay, that's a good idea.
because I don't want it to just be hanging out there for no good reason. Are we not continuing?
Right, got it. Blah, blah, blah. So then I talked about the name change. The City Council agreed to the name change as recommended by the committee, who expressed the need to better reflect its purpose. This title is the preferred name for many similar efforts around the state and is supported by the VLCT as an appropriate title. City Council has made inclusion and belonging a central aspect of the city's future plans, as described in priorities and strategic planning documents. Without a commitment to diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, there can be no justice. And then a note, the committee was pleased to include a Spalding High School student as a voting member. The goal is to have 2 students in this role. Okay, folks, have at it.
Ellen?
Yeah,
Is-
Sonia?
Yeah, thank you. So is this a report of the work that we've done and not the work that we need to do, or just sort of a reporting back about what we've been doing? I just want to clarify.
That's okay. I read these every year in the annual report, and they generally do both. And I kind of like to do a little of both. I'm not sure I talk much about the future,
Okay.
but if we had a budget, for example, we would put the budget report here, or if we had, so. And because we're not really finished with the, normally I guess I could include the numbers of people who have gone through the program that we did, but we haven't really finished the program. So I would assume that would go in the next report next year. But thank you.
One of the reasons I ask is because the city council just approved the consent agenda, which changes our charge to include the
ADA.
ADA committee, and I wonder if we should mention that and how we will be working to pull that under our umbrella, I guess.
That's a good idea, because I think writing this, I was not thinking that was our charge yet, but you're right. I think that's a good point. And also, when people read this, then they'll realize, that we have that as our additional purview. Thank you.
Thanks.
So just to be clear, this is not the one that's going in the City of Barre annual report. This is for the council.
No, this is the one going in the annual report.
Then you can't include that in there because that only goes up through June 30th. It's per fiscal year.
Oh, okay.
So it would go in next year's report.
All right. Thanks, Rick.
Yep.
So I'm going to go through and check that I haven't done something else like that. I think everything else in here happened before June 30th, but I'll check again. Any other comments or questions? So because we're kind of behind the 8 ball here, can we, with those changes that we talked about, if you trust me to make them, can we just vote on sending this off to the place it's going, the cyber place?
So moved.
Seconded.
Great, thank you. Oh, I forgot to say, never mind. Is anybody else taking minutes right now? If not, I'll go through the meeting on later.
I'm taking some very basic minutes.
Well, maybe you can help me out when I get to that point.
Okay, yes.
Thank you. I completely forgot. I'm sorry. All right. So does anyone want to discuss that, or we're okay with voting? Okay, I'm gonna just call it then. All those in favor, aye, or raise your hand.
Hi.
All right.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, great. Thank you. And Rick, when I make those changes, I just send it to you and you'll somehow magically get it up on the annual report?
I will.
Great, thank you. Okay. So the next thing on the agenda is the Central Vermont Economic Summit. So we have a table at the Economic Summit. It's on a Friday. It's May 3rd from 10 o'clock till 4 o'clock. No, I'm sorry, 10 to 3, because the tables are only going to be open that amount of time. And I was thinking about what to present, but I'm open for all kinds of suggestions, as well as looking for other people to person the table during that day. I know you folks work, so I'm not sure that's going to work out, but it doesn't have to be someone really that sits on the committee either. If you have any suggestions as to someone who might be able to person the table for a while, that'd be great. Excuse me. So one of the things I thought about was to put up the Barre City timeline, to display that, and then at the table have a sign-up sheet for anyone who is either interested in getting more information from us, or wants to know more about us, or wants to join our committee, or join one of our working groups or whatever, something like that. And then uh, copies, hopefully lots of multiple copies of the assessment tool, so that folks, because I think there'll be people there from, well, I know there will be, not just from Barre, but from other communities, and that might be helpful for them to see how we've adapted the state one. So those are the three things that I thought about, but I wondered if anyone else had some ideas.
Can I ask can I ask a clarifying question?
Oh, Sam,
So
sorry.
it's just a table, it's not a presentation in any way, so it's just people will just come up and we'll be there to provide information?
You know, I didn't hear from them. I'm assuming we don't have a presentation because I didn't hear from them. They made their decision, but I'm assuming, I'll check to make sure. I'm assuming we don't do a presentation because they didn't say yes to me anyway. So I don't really know about that. But I wasn't planning to email them this week and just to make sure. You know, I would hate to be on the schedule as giving a presentation and then we don't show up. Okay. And the presentation that we were thinking about, that I was thinking about anyway, was one about the tool and how to use it.
Yeah, I think the tool would be a great thing to have at the table.
All right. I know that I think it's kind of self-explanatory too. So even if we get someone who hasn't been to our meetings or whatever, they'll still be able to figure it out. You know, when I first started looking into this, I began to think about one of the other places that we can have an influence in terms of promoting inclusion and equity, and that is in developing some kind of relationship, not only between us and the Barre Area Development Corporation, but also between us and the Barre Partnership. And the reason I've been thinking about this is because I've been thinking about the public face that is shown by both these organizations, and I'm a little concerned about some of, not necessarily with Barre Area Development Corporation. I don't really know that much about what kind of iconography they use, but in particular, the iconography that is being used by the Barre Partnership is particularly religious. Let's just put it that way. And, you know, it's one thing for someone who is Christian to drive through Barre and see crosses and purple drapes at Easter and lilies and, you know, a creche at Christmas and then nothing else, celebrating any other holiday. And it's another to rethink the way that our public face is, and how that contributes or inhibits inclusion from folks who don't share that same understanding of iconography even. You know, because if you see an image that is not something you're familiar with, you don't even know necessarily what it means. So I'm thinking about gentle ways, let's put it that way, to make some kind of critique of that, not in the sense of criticizing, but in the sense of improving our image to the community in that sense, and being more inclusive, not just talking about it, not just having a committee for it, but actually being more inclusive and looking at those things that we already do and figuring out how they can be retooled or reimagined and rethought in order to address it in a wider way. And so I did contact the Barre Partnership and ask them to come to our next meeting. They can't, but they're going to come to the meeting in June. And at that time, I'd like us to be thinking about ways that they promote the city and ways that they could promote it with more inclusive messages. Let's put it that way. Does that make sense to folks? I mean, yeah. Christmas was bad enough, but Easter, I don't know. It's like it's not a personal thing. I mean, I understand what the images are. I was raised Catholic, but it's more about how others who weren't raised in a Christian faith or a faith at all to look at these images and understand that they're welcome because they don't see anything that relates to their own beliefs.
So Ellen, I like the idea. I wonder if we could put that on our agenda for May since they're not going to be here and have a bigger discussion, and it will give us some time to think of ways that some suggestions that they could be more inclusive or welcoming. And so I'm just wondering if we could have that fuller discussion when maybe we all have had a chance to think about it and have some ideas.
That's a good idea. Thank you. And I don't really want to limit it. Yeah, sorry, Ellen.
In the meantime, we might do a little bit of research to look at other towns, not just in Vermont, that have downtown organizations or organizations that promote, the town, to see if they've got any guidelines around holidays. Like, what do they do? What are other approaches? I'd like to know what the other approaches are. Yeah, so that would be, you talked about a more gentle approach. I think having some suggestions in mind, having some examples in mind of ways that others have thought this through and wrestled with it would be really great.
I know that the schools certainly have guidance around that. And so I'll also,
As do libraries often.
yeah, right. I'll check with the school and see what their policy is on it because that's instructive not only in terms of what kind of policy, but also it's one that our community is already using. And that might be a good guide. Learn from the children. These are all great suggestions, and I don't want to limit us just to those two organizations, but they are definitely in charge of the public face for Barre, so that's why I was thinking of them first. But any group or organization or committee could certainly use some scrutiny when it comes to this topic of inclusion because it means different things to different people, but you know it when you feel it. You know what I mean? And images definitely are very powerful. And so whether it's, I remember, I can probably share this because it's not necessarily confidential, but there was a discussion in our workshop that we did about the American flag. And one person was saying how they couldn't understand how anyone would have objections to an American flag. And then another person said, well, I was at a demonstration and was beaten with an American flag, so I have a different idea about it. So it kind of points out that no matter what we think of an image, others have different relationships with them or different ideas about them. So that's why I thought it was important. Well, yes, Ellen.
Just to say a little more about this, it's not just about including other religions and cultures. It's a chance for people who are in one or more of the dominant groups in our society to reckon with what it would be like to not be part of that group. That the things that you may think are universal to everyone aren't. And you may be very comfortable as a person in many of those who occupies many of those groups with all those things and thinking, well, what's the harm? It's wonderful. It's Christmas. It's whatever it is. Right. And never have the experience of being on the other side of that, of being in the absolute minority where your culture is not even understood. And so I think it's a really good experience of empathy in a community for people to understand that their way is not the only way, that though it's normal for them, that's not everybody. And to be truly inclusive would be to recognize that, to recognize the privilege that it is to have everything kind of tooled to what you know and what you grew up with without even realizing it.
Mm.
So I think that that's the learning experience here that could be very, very beneficial.
Thank you, Ellen. Yeah.
Joelle, and I also was thinking, I wonder if there's a way, and we can talk about this more in May, but I wonder if there's a way to involve the community for people to be able to say, I would love to be able to see this in my community because this represents me, whatever that might be. I mean, I know what I would like to see for me, but what I want to see is probably different than what Ellen wants to see or what Greg wants to see. And so, like, how can we start a conversation about what's inclusive so that we can make sure that these organizations are representing everybody, and not making assumptions that, okay, so we did this, this, and this, so that must be, we've checked off all the boxes and now we're good. We've done what we needed to do. So I think it might be helpful to maybe start with how can we have a conversation, even with these people, with the groups that are representing us, to how can we have a bigger conversation with people in our community about what they think would be helpful to for how we present our face to the rest of the world.
I used to think that it was really important for folks to get a deeper understanding about these things, but I'm beginning to change my thinking around that and thinking, so what? Little by little, little steps. We don't need to go deep right away, but tiny steps to just get the ideas out there so that the next time they're talked about isn't such a shock or isn't such a departure for whomever. So, I mean, we kind of move at a slow pace anyway, so I don't think that we're rushing into these things unnecessarily. So I appreciate your thoughts and your ideas about this. And of course, you know, as we maybe delve into this, please send any material that you find to all of us so that we can be prepared for May's meeting. And as I say that, it's time for visitors and public comments, unless people still have more to say about this other topic. No? Okay, seeing all. Any public comments? You have 2 minutes to speak. You have 2 minutes to knit. Can we see what you're making?
Oh, it's just a scarf. I'm sitting in a meeting. I need something to do with my hands, or I'm gonna go bonkers. Scarf.
No, I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I think that because of the way the meeting was set up, I didn't get a chance to be like, hi, I'm just here to listen. But yeah,
No,
just
that's perfect.
I saw that you have this meeting regularly, and I like to know what's kind of going on and what's being discussed. So I just wanted to pop by and sit in and listen, and I'll probably try and make it as regular as I can.
Please do. We meet on the second Thursday evenings at 6:30. So you're welcome anytime. Thanks for coming. I appreciate it. We all appreciate it.
Would you be comfortable introducing yourself just a little bit to us, and we can also introduce ourselves to you?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Leon Leary. I live in the Barre City, kind of up by the cow pasture trails. I had an apartment here for a little while, and then I bought a house here a couple years back. I grew up in more towards the like Champlain Valley area, down in like on Charlotte, so like right down by Addison County, but still in Chittenden County. And yeah, so I'm just kind of big on community involvement. And I mean, like you said, you were talking about small steps. I have this picture of a little cat that I have on my desk at work, and he's like taking a little step, and it says "small steppy is better than no steppy," which is just kind of, you know, think on the very, very small scale, like, and that's where a good impact is. So yeah, that's I just young-ish person living in the community, and I just like getting involved.
Thanks, Leah.
Welcome.
Well, Joelle Mulvaney. I live over here on Pleasant Street in the North End. I've been here probably, well, better than 40 years, and been chair of this committee since its inception, what, 3 years ago now? Almost 3 years ago. and am very dedicated to this work. I don't always do things well or right, but my heart's in the right place. Ellen, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, and I'm happy that your heart is in the right place, Joan, in more ways than one. So, yeah. I'm Ellen Kay, and I live probably not so far away from you, Leon, down the hill a bit from the cow pasture, but on East Street, and I've lived in Barre for going on 6 years now, and been on this committee since the beginning, and care an awful lot about issue of creating a community that is caring, kind, and inclusive, and bends toward justice. So that's what I'm doing here.
Thank you, Ellen. Sonia, you want to go next?
Sure. I'm Sonia Spalding. I wish I lived closer to the cow pasture because it's one of my favorite places. It is just a short little walk, but I live on Delmont Avenue in Berry City, and I have lived here for 25 years maybe in this house. And I've just joined the committee. I'm probably the newest member of the committee, and but I'm very excited to be a part of it. I have been on the school board for a long time, and I strive to be as inclusive as I can, and am continuing to work on how to make change by changing myself and how I think about things, and then going out to be more inclusive with other people in the community. So, yeah, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here.
Greg, you want to go next? Thanks, Sonia.
Sure. I am Greg Cattell, and also youngish, and I live in East Montpelier. And I joined this committee just about 2 years ago, give or take, because I saw what was going on and it seemed like a worthy thing to be involved in.
Thanks, Greg. And William?
I'm William Choborg. I sometimes run up at the cow pasture. I've been involved with this committee since its inception. I've also been a member of the Board of Civil Authority for about 6 years, been living in Barre for, I think it's about 22 years now. So.
Thanks, William. Well, that's us, all of us tonight. So,
Oh, Rick's here too, no?
well, Rick, are you still with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
So introduce yourself. I'm sorry, I saw the symbol and forgot it.
I would turn on my camera, but my generator's running because I live in the middle of nowhere and we haven't had sun in long enough. So the only way I could power the house, and if I turn on my camera and I turn on a light so you can see me, the light flashes, which would cause everybody to have epileptic seizures. So I can't do that. Wouldn't be fair to you. I'm not a member of the committee. I'm the staff liaison of the committee. So I'm the one that deals with the city side. I work for the city. I do live, I think, well, right now it's about 45 minutes away because I can't take any dirt roads. But typically it's about a half an hour away. And, you know, love having people join us. And I think it's great that you're involved.
Okay, so do we have a
Motion to adjourn.
Rick? Thanks, William.
I've got a couple things housekeeping wise first, if nobody objects. So
No
they're coming up
objection.
for reappointments. And so looking at what I have on the website, it looks like Joellen is being spared this time and Christopher is being spared, but everybody else on the committee has to reapply. So if you need help doing that, let me know. But basically, if you go to the City of Barre webpage and you go under committees, the second one down is volunteer opportunities, and there's a form you fill out, and that goes to the manager for reappointment.
What's the deadline?
He didn't really give us a deadline. He just gave us a list of who was coming up.
May 8th is what I got an email from Nicholas that said May 8th is the deadline.
Okay. Yep.
And if I may, Rick, I sent an email back because I said I was just appointed and how is it that I have to reapply? And he said I was filling out the end of a term, I guess, for some other
Yes.
seat. And I said, well, it seems a bit odd that there are so many people on the committee and there are only 2 people who are remaining. And so he thought that the city council might want to do some rebalancing to make sure that there's some continuity for committees, because I think that's probably happening in other places as well. So
It is
just
very
for the
much
rest of the committee
happening.
to know,
Yeah,
I
it's very much
asked-
happening in the other committees too. I was looking at it going, man, we got a lot of people for reappointment and not many people if they don't reappoint them.
Yeah.
And it used to be that you were just considered reappointed unless you told the manager you didn't want to be reappointed. But when they did the whole restructuring, they changed it.
And they've
Yeah.
also changed some of their criteria. We might have different criteria by the time they make their decision, right?
I think mostly for people who are already members, it's just going to be an informal thing. I think anybody that wants to get on that's new, they would go through the process of interviewing with the council and all of that. But I'm pretty sure that the plan is for all the existing, because I just don't see the council having time to go through and interview like 40 people.
Right. Well, beyond, Rick, I was referring to the fact that that there is something on there could potentially be a policy change that makes it mandatory for us to have a certain balance of city folks on city committees. So that's what I was referring to. But who knows?
Yeah, I don't know where that's at. I think it's kind of fallen off the plate.
Right. Probably
but-
until elections, then it'll come up again.
Yeah, if certain people are there, probably.
That'll be my guess. All right.
Couple other real quick things. If you guys know Jeff and Steph, Jeff was a facilities director, Jeff Bergeron, and Stephanie Quaranta has been a rec director. They both retired on the 29th of March. And on the following Monday, I got put in charge of facilities and cemeteries. So I'm doing that in addition to HR and ADA and city safety officer. So there's a lot going on right now. So if I don't get back to you right off, there was I won't say a complete lack of planning, but there was a lot of things that were not ironed out before the turf got put in. And so I'm trying to figure all of that out, restructure everything. Scheduling has been a problem because they just started scheduling stuff and takes us about a half an hour with 2 people to tear down batting cages, but they would schedule stuff back to back. So we're working through that right now. And there's just a lot of things that there was no transition. It was basically like, today we're going to have you pick it up and we'll figure it out as we go. So I am involved in that. So that's going to take a little bit of time. But the other thing is, and I'm just going to share the screen and I'll show you real quick. I think it's this one. So on the city website now, under city departments, and this is just to kind of go into the Michael Deering charge for the ADA. There's now an ADA page, which I'm trying to get it to be more prominent. But for the first time, the city now has a public notice of ADA, which is a requirement. We never had one before. We now have a defined process for ADA grievances. And I am in the process. I did Google Translate for Spanish, but it didn't come out real well. And I don't speak Spanish other than a few words, and probably not words I should repeat. But so the goal is to have it up there in Spanish as well. But there is a grievance form, there is a grievance procedure. That at this point comes to me because I'm the ADA coordinator. So those will be sent to me, and hopefully I can resolve whatever the grievance is with the person. But I'm also researching how to get resources in the event that we need them. So if we need a sign language interpreter, if we need a regular interpreter, if we need some type of equipment to assist people with disabilities, I'm trying to figure out where all my resources will be for that. So it's a start. It's nowhere near where it needs to get to because the first round of self-evaluation should have happened, I think, around 98. The second one should have happened by 2012, and the city's never done any. And we've never done a transition plan, which those two pieces are pretty labor. The self-survey, the self-evaluation is not horrible, but the transition plan is intense. It's going to take a lot of time. And so that's on my radar, but it's not something that's going to happen because you got to do the self-survey first. And that's where you interview all your departments, you interview all the businesses, you ask them, you give them like a thing that they fill out that has, I think, 40 questions or more. And then you get it all back and then you process it all and then you put it into the transition plan, and then you try to put costs associated with fixing all of it and timelines.
Wow.
So it's a rather lengthy piece that will have to happen as we progress, but we're started. And now with my role of facilities director, I'm going to be looking at things from the ADA standpoint. I know we're renovating some bathrooms, so those are going to be ADA compliant, but we have a lot of signage that is not, there's no braille on it. And so there's quite a few things that are going to be addressed coming up, and I'll try to keep track of them and just give the committee updates of things that we're addressing. So you guys will know. And that's it.
Shout out to Deborah Lisi, an advocate for disabilities who sat in her wheelchair in front of our library to force them to create opportunities for accessibility, and that turned it into what you see today, which is the addition to the back of the building. So yay for Deborah.
Can I ask a question of Rick?
Sure.
Rick, I always worry about your welfare, but because of all of this, with those two positions not filled right now, is there any possibility of the city hiring some support for you on a temporary basis?
So the way that their retirement program was developed, they are paid through the end of June. And so there's no cost savings from their salaries at this point. We'll be able to get there. It's just right now I'm taking it. It was a department that needed a lot of attention. And even, I mean, just basic stuff like tracking stuff and monitoring what needs to be done. I met with the Civic Center committee the other day. They're on board. They're excited because we're already making progress on things that they've been trying to get addressed for years. It's going to be an uphill climb for a while, but I think after we kind of get the flow going right now, that the turf has really been just a huge steep climb because I didn't even know when it was being delivered because I wasn't included in any of that. And now we're trying to figure out scheduling and what happens when somebody cancels and how's the billing working. And we're getting it. And what's that?
Who's turf?
So we got turf now inside the BOR, inside the rink. So there's AstroTurf. So now there's soccer in there and lacrosse and baseball. There's going to be dodgeball in there. They're working on, there's a couple other things that are coming in. But it was, there was a lot, there's a lot to it. I mean, if you think they're all 4x8 panels that we put down, and then we had to cut all the way around all the pieces all the way around the edge. And then those all have to be laid down and Velcroed together, and there's specific measurements between them. And we did get a bunch of netting and soccer nets and soccer balls and stuff donated by Dick. So we're trying to figure out how we're going to do open gyms so the kids from the community can go up there and play. So if it's raining out, they have a place to go in and get exercise, and it's going to be amazing. It's just going to be a process till we get it smooth. We've just got a lot to work through because it's all brand new to us. So we're getting there. The staff is coming along. There's some reluctancy on me making them work a lot harder than they ever have. But there's so many things that have been neglected. I mean, that facility up there is the face of Barre, and we need to make a lot of changes to get it to look nice and to make it ADA accessible. For the most part, it is, but there is areas where it needs improvement. And I want to make sure that this committee is involved with me in supporting this initiative, because I think it's going to be critical as we go forward, because we are making a lot of changes and we're making them really quickly. And so I don't want something to get overlooked or forgotten. Or so if you guys hear anything, hear any feedback about things, please let me know. There's the cemetery is, to say the least, it is archaic in its record keeping. And so we're looking at a potential cemetery software solution where our hope is, and the assistant manager is very supportive of this, our hope is that we'll be able to get all the lots into the database and then make it available online. So if somebody wanted to come in and search for a relative, they can do it online and find them. Where right now we got to go look at cards and then pull the lots to see, and it's almost impossible if you have a husband and a wife and the wife never changed her name, because it comes up under the name that's on the stone. And if the main name on the stone is the husband's name and the wife's full name is down the bottom, it's only in a card, and the only way you'd know is if you know the husband's name. So we're trying to work through all these details and upgrade all of that too. And there's going to be a lot there that has to be done, but I think everybody's excited. It's a new chapter, and we're just going to make it work.
So Rick, you need a librarian on that job.
Yes, I'm actually going to, I
Catalogs
think
or
what I'm going to do is try to get an intern to help
I was
us.
gonna say, yes, get an intern, cataloger or an archivist who can come up with a system much quicker than you all will be able to do that. That's just a cataloging problem. That's what I do all day. So
yeah, and that's where we're headed, and it's I think it'll be amazing when it's done. I mean, that's our goal. So there's a lot of changes coming, and my new business cards, there is no title on it, because I spent all day working on the boilers downstairs to get the Opera House heat tonight for the orchestra. So I told Joellen, I spent 15 minutes on my computer all day. The rest of the day I've been working with contractors trying to get the boilers fixed and figuring out, we had the extra turf got picked up, and it's just running around crossing off boxes right now, just trying to keep things afloat until we get it all ironed out. So
Wow.
that's where we're at.
Right.
We'll get through it.
So Rick, that's a lot, but thanks for being here.
I wouldn't miss this committee meeting.
Thank you.
I think this committee has a motivation to make the world better, and I love that. So
Thank you. We do.
Rick, if you need anything else to do, just let us know and we will come up with something for you.
Greg, I really appreciate that. I pulled into my driveway at 6:15 and ran upstairs and got my computer up and running. So I appreciate it. If I need some more work, I will definitely reach out to you.
Well, not just when you need support in front of the council, you can count on us for that as well.
Nicholas and Dawn have been absolutely amazing. They understand that this, I made it clear. I said, I'm okay helping out and doing this, but this is not something that's going to be 100% fixed in a month. This is something that's been developed over 50 years or more that I've got to change the culture completely of the staff. I've got to change the culture of the way we do things. You know, everything is done on paper. And no, time cards have to be electronic. I can't deal with, you know, typing in everybody's time card. You guys are going to have to come on board, learn how to use a computer and put in your time card. It's pretty easy. It's a drop down menu. So it, you know, it's just getting people to recognize that it's time for change. And
Well,
I'm sure there'll be some attrition as we go.
change agents are on the front lines, so even if you just need to come and discharge for us, that's fine. We can handle it.
I already ordered a big heavy bag that I'm installing in one of the closets downstairs for when I need to discharge.
And Leon Leary, we want to see that scarf next month. Wow.
That's awesome.
It's like a lap rug. That's awesome, is right.
I'm sure I'll have progress to share with you by next month. Maybe I'll even have something different I'm working on.
Ooh, okay. Okay, we did have a motion on the table for a adjournment from William. Did we have a second? I don't remember.
Second.
Thank you, Greg. Okay, folks, see you next month.
Right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.